So a few months back, I was able to finally shoot my short film, Flea. It's the most ambitious project I've ever taken on by myself, with the largest crew I could afford and a $30,000 budget to film a 25-minute short film. So as someone that just loves movies and wants to make movies, I often find myself just watching hours and hours of behind the scenes footage of movies, some of my favorite movies online or on Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff like that. So over the course of the next few videos, I'm going to be doing a little series here of just behind the scenes footage from the production of my short film.
So you'll have room to just talk up on that.
Okay.
I love it. I can't wait to get rid of this OU stop though.
I know,
Or
dude.
should we just leave it? I mean, it's kind of hilarious.
It is funny.
So this is day one of production. This is the first day where we finally get all the crew together and start shooting the film. And day one is always very interesting because it's always a little bit rockier than the rest of the days. Now there's always problems that arise when shooting a film, but the first day always seems to be the biggest learning curve because everyone's trying to calibrate with each other. You're learning, what you really need for each shot, and you're getting used to the camera and stuff like that. This is just the very first morning of day one. So we're shooting at this gas station. We're shooting on the Sony Venice, the first version of the camera, shooting in 6K RAW. For these scenes, we're actually shooting on the Tokina Vista Primes because the Supreme Primes, the Zeiss Supreme Primes that I initially got for the shoot did not show up on time. They actually showed up on day two. I think they showed up actually in the middle of the day at my house, and I wasn't able to get them in between shots because we were rushing so much to make the day.
Pop in here.
That helps us we can move around a lot more through that, and then this becomes our line when we're outside. So as he comes out, we kind of come this way.
He's gonna stumble down to the ground.
Yeah. How far?
I would love to clear these. So I'd love for him to be out here and for her to be at the door. Let's just do how we talked with the boards and just be let's be low already, right?
So as you know, I'm a cinematographer historically, but I have now been switching to trying to do more narrative work and directing and writing my narrative work. And something I learned very quickly as a director, it's so much different than a cinematographer. All I'm doing right here is just blocking the scenes. You just it's one thing to direct the actors on what their emotions are and their motivations are and stuff like that. But most of what you're doing is where are we positioning them? Where's the camera gonna go? And how much coverage are we going to need? If I can say anything that I've learned from being a director so far in the narrative world is get your coverage. It's very nice to be intentional about your shots and know what you want. And as you'll see here later, I've storyboarded most of the film, but it was impractical to storyboard all of the film as it is a 25-minute film. That's just hundreds of shots. But I did storyboard main sequences and set pieces. So on the day, everything you're doing is really trying to figure out where everything's gonna go so it makes sense on screen. And I have to say, it's much harder than it sounds. Honestly, we actually screwed up a couple times. We've actually broke the eye line a couple times. When you're working with more than one actor in a scene, it gets very complicated. You'll see a lot of big time productions do full-blown diagrams of where each person's gonna sit, where's the camera's gonna go, what's gonna happen when you change the line, can you transition the 180-degree line so that the screen direction stays the same when you're watching it. So here is the number one thing that coming from a cinematographer to becoming a director is that Corey Robinson here, who was nice enough to step in as my DP, because my original DP was not able to make the shoot last minute because of a family emergency.
More level on him?
Are they gone?
No, you have highlights. Yeah. And I can even give you more.
So I'm over there asking Corey if we have enough exposure on the face, and he obviously gives me a little grin because he's like, hey dude, I'm doing my job here, can you do yours? But it's really hard as such a visual person, and I've been a cinematographer for the last 12 years. It's really hard to just separate that on set. And I learned a lot about staying in my lane when working in this environment.
And action. And cut. we under? We need more light. Sun moved.
So you see we're using mostly Nanlite and Nanlux lights. That's because they were super awesome and were able to help support the film by sending us a bunch of lights like this Nanlux 1200 that we're using here. 1200 is so awesome, so much power. It really gets the job done. It's always nice to have the power of 1200 watts for some of the other smaller lights that we use, but you'll see that we also use tube lights for a good majority of these shots.
All right. So it's like a kiss. Great.
So let's just go under. Yeah, let's just go under and just like stick it to your shirt. This one?
Yeah. And then when we do the actual take, I mean like sing it. Okay. I mean, be as loud as you want to be.
All right.
You know what I mean?
All right.
Okay. Or we just need way more leveling.
We need the counter. Counter the shot.
So you see I have my storyboards here, and the boards are basically a plan that you get in place that you can break on set if you feel that you need to, but it's really great to fix it in pre-production and have as much done as you can before the day, because the truth is you just do not have enough time to get the shots. Like I think in on a film set, a Hollywood film set, you're working with like 100 crew members, whereas this we had maybe about 15 or so. Even with 15 crew members, even with a multi-person G&E team, a DP, a set dresser, all that stuff, we still did not have enough time each day to get all the shots. There was some shots that we just couldn't get and just didn't make the cut, but most days we actually went 3 hours over. We were doing like 15-hour days, which I do not like to push my crews that hard when I'm working like in the commercial industry. But for something like this, like you fly in actors, you put them up in hotels, you're spending, this is like my personal money on this. Like you have to kind of push the limits a little bit to get these things, because these are investment pieces. Short films are something that you're doing to invest in yourself.
Oh man.
You can see we've got our Starbucks cans here because we're already tired, and this is just day one, and this just gets worse and worse as we go through the days.
This is all 100% special effects, but she's like hanging on.
You can also see here I'm wearing this giant North Face jacket because it's about 35 degrees, 40 degrees out right now. And we're only going to start shooting all the way into the night when it just gets colder. And let me tell you, anyone that hasn't been to Oklahoma, the Oklahoma wind is brutal, and I would say it's colder and feels worse than being up in the mountains in Colorado. This state's weather is unfortunate.
And that one line will be the next 6 shots.
Wow. With the privacy,
I tried.
Yeah, it's not.
Right there.
So we were chasing a little bit of light here. We had some stuff go wrong. We had some props not show up on time, so we had to pivot, grab some bags, throw it on them, just so we could get this blue hour. Luckily, with the Sony Venice, you're able to have this kind of infinite amount of ND on there, and the ability to switch over to 2500 ISO when you need to. So
That's nice.
Busy car lights. Go away.
We are in the middle of an abandoned dam.
This was a part of the night.
That I'm dreading, because anytime I'm like, hey, I need a tube, it's like a 25-minute walk to the van to get a tube.
You mean
You see the van?
that van over there?
here I am talking too much about lighting to the DP. I'm so sorry, Corey.
No, I just want to soften that.
Amanda, my wife here, acting as script supervisor. She's kind of keeping me on track, making sure we're not missing shots, which is super helpful and really nice to have. As a director, you're paying attention to a lot of things, and then you have stuff like this happen. You're shooting on a $50,000 camera, but sometimes your battery plate
Hey, so
messes up.
our V-mount to gold mount adapter just disassembled itself,
Disassembled.
and We have 2 out of 4 screws remaining, but we were able to just put one at the top right, one at the bottom left.
Kelsey here, our first AC, killing it, shooting at T15 most of the day, which I said I wasn't gonna do, but you know, sometimes when you just stick on a lens like that, you know, you see how pretty it is, you tend to just roll with it, and I regret that, but that's okay, the film still looks great.
Going to.
We're at 25%.
Maybe my next film will actually have a little bit of a stop on the lens to give us some texture in the background. Using the generator that I bought to power these lights outside, which worked out great. It's kind of funny how much light you need when shooting outside at night. Just get one more rail in there? Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
All right, back to one. And action. It's more dramatic, I think, if we can. I would love for you to be hearing what I'm saying right here, but I feel like it might spoil the film, so I'm going to talk over this a little bit. You can see how we're mostly just using tubes here. Tubes are just like the game-changing piece of lighting equipment for low-budget filmmaking or any filmmaking now. You can just throw up a tube and start lighting, and it's so nice. And especially what we're doing here is you can see we're using the Ronin 2 with the Sony FX3 for these shots. We weren't able to put the Tokina lenses on because they were just too big for our rig, but we're able to shoot at 12,800 ISO on the FX3 and get a very, very usable image at night. I would say that I don't know if we could have even made the day or finished this film without the FX3 for so many of the night shots. Without that 12,800, we would have had to have done a lot more work to get the job done.
Right now?
Outside right now? Oh, it's like 30 something.
Yeah, that's a good guess. It's 30 something.
Later, we kind of get in the water here. All this stuff, you know, he's got a lighter rig because we're on the FX3. Yes, the quality isn't quite as good as the Venice, but look at that. This behind the scenes footage was actually shot on an A7S III, so basically the same thing. And you can see how the behind the scenes videos are exposed, and that's because of the Sony cameras, and it's just kind of remarkable. Here we are putting a couple FX3s in, you know, a watertight container because he's about to use that wetsuit to get in the water here. We risked our lives for this. Well, I have to say the actor and Corey, the DP, did. That water was probably 40 degrees. That's too cold. So we did 2 takes and we got out of there. Cops showed up, but luckily we got a permit to film at the stand.
Bro, we got a permit.
Who's ready to get shut down?
Yeah, we're not going in the water. I'm literally in a wetsuit.
Bro, and then you're gonna go up that way when you're going up towards that hill.
Josh Cole there, our main actor, getting ready to get super wet and cold. He actually has a wetsuit underneath his clothes to help with the temperature difference. We were able to get him right out of this and throw him in a van with a bunch of heaters and blankets and get him warmed up quickly. And luckily it all worked out, but I do not envy what these guys did. I admire them for getting into this super cold water. Okay, well that was day 1 of shooting Flea. If you have any questions on anything that you saw in this video, please let me know in the comments below and I will try to answer that on a future episode. But before then, I want to say thanks for watching, and now I want to talk about the sponsor of this video. You know, the sponsors of this channel help me make content and films like this, so I'm super grateful for them. And today's sponsor is Squarespace. Now, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to present your work online. If you're a cinematographer or a photographer, you're looking for a place to put your portfolio online, Squarespace is the place to do that. It just makes it so easy. You know, you could just use one of their pre-existing award-winning templates to get going or build a website from scratch. But either way, the tools are so easy to get that job done. They've actually updated their system recently, and you can actually use this kind of snap grid system where you can just move things around on a page and align it and design it however you want. It just gives you the total freedom to design a page that best represents you and your style and your work. You can obviously embed videos on the page from any site like Vimeo or YouTube, which just makes it seamless to be able to upload your content and show it off online. So if you're anything like me and you need to present your work online, well, you can just do that with Squarespace. Click the link in the description to get 10% off, and I want to thank Squarespace for sponsoring this video. All right, well, until next time, until day 2 of shooting Flea, stay tuned, subscribe, like this, and the behind the scenes of day 2 will be out shortly.